Hello everyone and welcome to Charleston Antique Mall. Thank you guys for coming to our free Nevada book class. We would like you guys to go ahead and check out our YouTube channel for all of our past classes, this year's Pearl class, last year's full set. And we ask that all of our customers turn off their phones so there's no interruption. Thank you guys so much, and I would like to introduce Mary Blake for our Nevada book class.
Hi guys, thank you for coming. I'm so happy to be here. Actually, I'm glad to be anywhere. I haven't been here for a while. My talk is on notable Nevada books, and everybody says, what do you mean, notable books? Well, they're not the very best Nevada books. They're not even my favorite Nevada books. One of them isn't even about Nevada. But there's something special about each one of these books, and it will tell you about Nevada history from people who were there. The first one I'm going to talk about has to do with one of the three industries in Nevada. You know we have mining. You know we have gaming. Do you know what the third one is? Ranching. When the mines weren't doing well and before gaming, the ranches of Nevada kept Nevada going. So Nevada early on was a cowboy state. And what better person to tell us about what it was like than a real Nevada cowboy? His name was Will James. Now, Will James wasn't always a cowboy. He came from Canada, but he always wanted to be a cowboy. He was more than a cowboy. He was a great storyteller, and he was a wonderful illustrator. So he started submitting stories to Collier's magazine in New York, and people loved them. And a publisher said, I'll publish books by you. So Will James started writing books. And this book, Smokey, was written in 1926. It is a great story about a horse and a cowboy. And the horse, of course, is a wild horse. So through Smokey's eyes, we see Nevada. We see the wilderness. Through Clint's eyes, we see what was going on the ranches. So it gives you a good picture of Nevada. But that's not what makes it notable. What makes this book notable is that in 1927, it was awarded the Newbery Prize for the best children's book in the United States. So it's notable because it's an award-winning book, but it's also a great book. Second book I have has to do also with ranching in Nevada. It's called The Oxbow Incident. I was talking about it earlier, and a lady said, oh, I saw the movie. Yeah. The Oxbow Incident is by Walter Van Tilburg Clark. With a name like that, you wouldn't think that was a Nevada author, but it is. He graduated from the University of Nevada at Reno. This is a moral story about a lynching in a fictional Nevada town. The characters are very interesting, kind of gives you an idea of what the people in Nevada were like at that time. It was made into a movie starring Henry Fonda, but what makes it notable is that the movie was up for the Oscar for Best Picture. Didn't win. The Oscar went to Casablanca. And the third one I have, look at this beautiful book. Nevada by Zane Grey. Zane Grey was one of the most prolific Western novelists in the early 1900s. And I saw this book and I just said, oh my God, I gotta have it. It was expensive because it exemplified for me Nevada, the cowboy, the land. This is the one that has nothing to do with Nevada. Anyway, Nevada is the cowboy, but it's a beautiful book. Now the next thing that I said was an industry in Nevada was, of course, mining. Nevada wouldn't have become a state in 1864 without mining. In 1864, the Comstock lode had drawn thousands of people to northern Nevada. Riches were there in silver. People were making lots of money. Virginia City was becoming the San Francisco of the new San Francisco. But on the East Coast, the Civil War was raging. President Lincoln was up for re-election. And when he looked over at Nevada territory, he said, there's two answers to my problem. There's riches, and there's a population that is very sympathetic to the Union cause. So he notified the people in the Nevada territory, hey, if you will submit the paperwork, I will make sure you become a state. The people in Nevada didn't care. They were having a good time. And then they finally decided, oh yeah, maybe we should do that. So in late October, they decided to apply for statehood, which meant they had to get the Constitution and they had to get all the paperwork to Washington, D.C. quickly. But you couldn't do it in those days except by telegraph. So they had to telegraph the entire state constitution and all the paperwork to Washington, D.C. at a huge cost, the longest telegram ever sent. Anyway, it got there, and the president signed the papers, and on October 31st, Nevada became a state, 1864. And the people of Nevada were able to vote in the November election, and the president was reelected. So, what was it like, really, in Nevada at that time? Well, like I said, lots of people were coming to Nevada. And two people who came to Nevada were two brothers from Missouri, the Clemens brothers. Now, the oldest brother got a job with the government. The youngest brother just kind of messed around, had a good time. Finally, he started writing stories for the Territorial Enterprise, which is the newspaper of Virginia City. And he was very successful. But then the brothers decided to move back to Missouri. And Samuel, when he got back, wrote two novels, Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer. Heard of those? Yeah, Mark Twain. But you know what? He also wrote a book about Virginia City. It's called Roughing It. And so if you want to know what Virginia City was like, and you want to read a story written by a great author, Mark Twain, this is your book. Why is it notable? It's by Mark Twain. Now, most mining camps were male-oriented. Most of the people there were men. Most of the stories told were told by men. But we have a book, The Lady in Boomtown, which is a story of a lady's adventures in a boomtown. The boomtown is Tonopah. The lady is Marjorie Brown. Interesting story. You girls are going to love this. In 1903, she lived in San Francisco. She was a socialite. She was engaged to an attorney. Well, the attorney's law firm decided they needed to open a branch office in Tonopah because Tonopah, Goldfield, Rhyolite were boom towns, and they needed a good lawyer's office there. So one night, Mr. Brown invited his fiancée to dinner, and he said, we're going to get married. We're going to get married 2 days. She said, really? He said, yeah, and we're going to Tonopah. And she said, oh, for our honeymoon? And he said, no, dear, we're moving there. So this socialite from San Francisco arrived in dusty Tonopah. And you can imagine what she thought. However, she became very interested in her town, and she established the first library there. And the books were from her personal collection. And then she got all of her friends to donate their books. So the library in Tonopah was probably one of the finest libraries in the United States, with all these wonderful, expensive books. She also organized the Red Cross there because World War I was coming, but her main thing was getting the right for women to vote. And she was a suffragette who went across Nevada. Now, they didn't stay in Tonopah very long, maybe about 10 years. But she never forgot what it was like when she was there. So I think in her 70s, she wrote this book about going to Boomtown. Now, we know that boomtowns eventually, most of them, go bust because they either run out of ore or they run out of investments, and too bad, the town goes bust. However, some of them don't. Some of them stick around. And one of those that stuck around is Searchlight. Searchlight, Nevada, down on the way to Laughlin, let's say. And this story of Searchlight in its bust times is the story of a young man who grew up there as a child and what it was like in the town where the major industry was gone. How did they survive? What's notable about this book is it's written by Harry Reid, U.S. Senator, and it is his story of how tough it was. Now, the third industry, of course, is gaming. And gaming is important to all of us. This book, I love this book. It's called The Way It Was, The Diary of a Pioneer Las Vegas Woman. Well, that's not really what it is. However, it is a diary, but it is not a personal diary of someone. It's actually a diary made from the articles found in the Las Vegas Age newspaper, which was the precursor to the Review Journal. So the author of this book would read the Age, and on the front page there would be stories about what was happening in Las Vegas. And then she would put them in this book as a personal diary entry. So when Sears Roebuck opened on Fremont and 6th, it's in the diary from the newspaper. When they need to do a sewer system in Las Vegas, it's in the diary of how it was done. The book goes from 1904 to 1950. So it does go through the atomic age here and what was being written about it in the newspaper. And the hotels are now on the Strip, the Sands, the Dunes. Those hotels are now there, and what they thought about it in the newspaper. But what's notable to me about the book is how absolutely ordinary and common Las Vegas was in those early days. This could be the diary of someone in Barstow or Yermo or the Midwest, because there wasn't really anything special here. It was just a community growing. So what happened? Well, the hotels came, but there were only 40,000 people here. How did it get from 40,000 people to where it is now? Well, here's a book. It's called The Players, The Men Who Made Las Vegas. And it gives you an idea of the kingpins of industry, gaming industry, who came to Las Vegas with their dreams and with their plans for how to make the hotels more attractive to people. Players is a good word. Players means gamblers. And they were gamblers. They were bookmakers. They were sports bettors. They were card players. But they all had a dream for Las Vegas. There's a chapter on each one of these people, so you can get to know them. There's Bugsy, of course, Benny Binion from the Horseshoe, Sam Boyd Stadium, Jackie Gahn, Howard Hughes, Steve Wynn, Jay Sarno. Who were these people? And why did they come here? What was their background? The book will tell you all about that. That's what's notable, because these were the people who changed Las Vegas. One of those people, of course, was Steve Wynn. There are books, biographies written about many of those men. But I, I chose this one, Running Scared, Steve Wynn. What's notable about this book is it almost didn't get published because Steve Wynn did not want it to get published. And he sued the publisher, and the publisher went bankrupt. He sued the author, John L. Smith, but unfortunately, John L. Smith held strong, and the book was published. But it's a more detailed story about where this kingpin came from, Steve Wynn. Now, in the 1970s, a couple of movies came out that were instrumental in Las Vegas history. One of them was Godfather, and one of them was Casino. Casino was based on a nonfiction book. What was in Casino happened. And when they made the movie, it became extremely popular, but it also exposed what was going on in Las Vegas. Everybody knew the mob ran the casinos, but how many people really understood how vicious the mob truly was? And it kind of changed the perception of Las Vegas a little bit. One of the people who was with the mob here was Tony Spilatro. Tony Spilatro, as it says, was the Chicago mob's enforcer. What's interesting is Tony Spilatro's son played on the same Little League team that my nephew played on. They were part of the community. But underneath, what was really going on is what's in this book. It's notable for that, exposing what was really going on. Don told me, tell him about the Tower of Thieves. They had a gang that was burglarizing homes, and they established their own jewelry store to fence the jewelry that they that they stole. Anyway, interesting story, sad story. So with that new perception about the mob, things really changed. And this book, which is my last book, so you didn't have to stay too long, is called Temples of Change, How America Incorporated Bought Out Murder Incorporated to Win Control of the Casino Business. Now this is what you call a serious book, not easy to read, not fun to read, but it shows how corporations got interested because they saw how much money was there, and we know corporations are greedy. So there's a chance to get some money. And the government said, hey, wait a minute, if it's a corporation, we can tax them. So we can get some of that money that's now going to the mob. So they changed a lot of rules so that corporations could come and be successful. Started with Howard Hughes. You know the story of the Howard Hughes Corporation buying 5 casinos on the Strip and then telling the world that he was kicking out the mob and he was going to make them into respectable businesses. How could he do that? That's a monopoly. The government said, sure, go ahead. We'll get the taxes. How about Holiday Inn? Nothing more American corporation than Holiday Inn. Holiday Inn decided they would invest in gaming, and their profits went astronomically high. So other corporations like Ramada, they started to see we need to be in the casino business. So individuals as well, Merv Griffith, Donald Trump, he's in the book. And that's what makes it notable. No, not really. But it is a very good description of how corporations made their way into the casinos in Las Vegas and changed Las Vegas forever. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for coming. On the back table, there are the books that I talked about. So you have the author, and you can order them on Amazon if you want, or you can buy them from me. Anyway, thank you. Any questions? Questions? Anybody got a favorite Nevada book? No? Don, what's your favorite Nevada book? Putting him on the spot.
No, the history of Nevada by Rin.
The History of Nevada.
2 volume.
2 volumes. Guess what, guys? There are no good stories in those 2 volumes. It's just fact after fact. These are the stories.
Question, what was the jewelry store? The Tower?
The Tower of Jewels.
Okay, I think I remember that.
Well, yeah, everybody went there. Everybody bought their jewelry
I
there.
was a tourist back then when it was still,
It was at the Thunderbird.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was called the Tower of Jewels, and they used that facade to fence all
Right.
the money, the jewels that the hole in the wall gang broke in and stole people's jewelry.
Amazing.
So it was a kind of they got a good percentage on when they fenced it.
So how was that discovered that it was actually?
Well, the FBI was here. The guy who wrote this story was here. The FBI knew what was going on.
Okay.
Yeah. And they did, they did bring charges against them.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
One
Anyway.
side note is that
Very
in the
colorful.
casino, the book called The Casino, Mary and I went to a talk at the Nevada State Museum, and it was given by a mobster who had just gotten out of jail,
Collada.
Colada. And I asked him personally, I said, why didn't Frank Rosenthal, Lefty Rosenthal, die? And he said, because it wasn't a mob job.
In the movie Casino, that opening where the car blows up. Yeah.
Robert De Niro played Lefty
Right.
Rosenthal.
The casino's about the Stardust, right? Was that the main
Yes,
hotel that they
yes,
were
the
doing?
hotel was
Yeah.
the Stardust. Yeah, yeah, for sure. But that was all of them.
Yeah, they were just the ones getting caught.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Someday somebody might write a book about station casinos. Now it's squeaky clean.
Of course, it's a corporation. It's one of these now.
May I ask, are there any good books on Oscar? Has he written?
Yes, oh yes,
Okay.
of Rats and Men.
Oh, right.
Also, I think by John Smith.
He wants
Yes.
to be king, Oscar.
He is in his own realm right now, and we give that to him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are books on all of the people that I talked about, including Will James. A great book on Will James, the cowboy, written by him. Okay,
Thank you again, dear.
you're very welcome. Thank you for being here, guys. Made my day, for sure. I love to talk about my books.
We can, we do,
Yes.
and we appreciate the fact